Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Healthy Eating During the Holidays with Dr. Dana Dragone. A few things before we get started. We just ask that you stay on mute while Dana is talking. She said she'll open it to the end at the end for questions if you want to unmute, but that will be at the end. If you have questions during, write them in the chat box and she'll try to get to them as she can see them. Otherwise, thank you for being here with us, Dana.
Hi guys, you're welcome. So just as she said, if you guys have questions during and you don't want to forget them, you can just type them in the chat and I'll either answer it, as we go through, or I'll save it to the end. And then at the very end, if you want to unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to. So today we are talking about healthy eating during the holidays. This is one of my favorite topics. I think we did a talk similar to this last year as well. But basically, holiday weight gain is such a fear for so many people, and it is pretty common, but it doesn't have to be like the end of the world, right? We can still enjoy our holidays and not have that fear of gaining weight and things like that. And of course, with the abundance of like cookies, all the delicious foods, there's more parties, there's more gatherings, there's definitely more temptation, but there's also more opportunities to be like eating more and things like that. Today, we're going to go over, I believe it's 10 different tips to avoid gaining any weight this year. As I just said, 10 different tips to prevent holiday weight gain. So let's get started. Okay, tip number 1, don't skip meals. This is really important. A lot of times people think that, I'm going to this holiday party tonight, I'm not going to eat anything all day. But what really happens with that is not eating before a party causes us to end up binge eating at the party later on. So instead, what is a good idea to do is to grab snacks throughout the day, right? Maybe you don't want to have 2 crazy heavy meals, right? You're not going to have like the biggest meals of your life before a party, but having a few snacks here and there, especially something right before you go. That way, when you get there, you're not so hungry that you're beelining it to the buffet table. This is going to help take the edge off your appetite and prevent you from overeating. You can also choose healthy options, right? So instead of skipping meals before the party, maybe if your usual breakfast is a bagel with cream cheese, instead you have a hard-boiled egg and a yogurt, something a little bit healthier, a little bit lower in calories, but still good for you, still nourishing your body.
Dana, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're still on the first slide, the introduction.
No. So hold on. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So this has been happening. I'm not sure if it's my computer or what, but this has been happening to me. So if it keeps happening, you guys, just let me know. I'll try to pay attention more to it. Just it's 2 different screens. So hopefully the other screen will update. I'm not really sure why this has been doing that. Okay. So I will try to pay attention to it. All right. So where was I? Choosing something healthy, right? So if you're, like I said, your normal breakfast is like a heavy bagel, cream cheese, all that kind of good stuff. Maybe having a little bit lighter of a breakfast, something like a hard-boiled egg, maybe some fruit, things that are a little bit lower in calories and healthier options. And next is don't shop when you're hungry. So maybe you don't have a party to go to, but you're shopping for a holiday party. Make sure when you go to the grocery store, you're not going there on an empty stomach. I think most of us might have done this in the past or have done this at least once in our life, where you get in the grocery store, you're so hungry, and next thing you know, you're leaving with foods that you never would have bought if you weren't so hungry, and then like, oh, that looks so good. And then when you get home, you're like, wow, okay, I just bought a bunch of really random foods. So make sure you have a snack before you go to the grocery store. And that way you're not going to be as tempted to buy all of the holiday treats, right? There's going to be a lot more cookies in the grocery store. There's going to be a lot more things like candies and all the like the eggnog, the hot chocolates, the marshmallows, the whipped cream, the candy canes, all that kind of stuff. So making sure you eat something so you're not tempted to buy all of those just because you're starving and your stomach's telling you to do so. All right, let me see. There we go. Next is to contribute a healthy dish. So a really easy way to make sure that you have a healthy option if you're someone who is on a diet or who has been working really hard to lose weight or to eat a certain way, the best way to make sure that you can stick to this and stick to your patterns is to contribute something that is healthy or that follows your diet, right? So some good options are to go for produce. If you can bring a recipe that has a ton of healthy ingredients like fruits and vegetables, whether it's a hummus putter, a crudité, you can do an Asian twist and do like the rice paper spring rolls packed with a bunch of veggies. I'm trying to think of other options, but anything that has like a ton of veggies or a ton of fruit, that's going to be healthy no matter what, right? So looking for an option or a recipe that incorporates a lot more fruits and vegetables rather than bringing the brownies or, the chips and dip, things like that. Next would be to choose healthy proteins. So besides fruit and vegetables, healthy proteins are a really good option, especially if you're someone who's following more of a low carbohydrate, higher fat, higher protein diet. Then something like deviled eggs would be a great option for that. Or if your family, we're talking about like the Christmas tradition, the Italian tradition where there's like the 7 fishes dinner on Christmas Eve, you can do something like sushi. I know it's not Italian, but it's a lot of fish and it tends to be a little bit lower in carbohydrates, and can be a really healthy option that has all those good healthy fats from the fish. And last is to bring a low sugar option. So if you are someone who absolutely loves dessert, but you don't want to be tempted to eat all of the different pies, cakes, cookies, etc., you can find a dessert that is a little bit lower in calories and lower in sugar and has more, healthy options to it. So for example, things like fruit with whipped cream is good. There is a really good recipe for no-bake brownies, and they're made with walnuts, dates, and cacao powder, all really healthy options, right? There's no processed sugar, there's no unhealthy fats in there, anything like that. A lot of recipes too, if you type into Google like healthy dessert or low calorie dessert, whatever it is, they'll use unsweetened applesauce or mashed ripe bananas instead of having a ton of extra butter and sugar. So those are options as well to look at. All right, next, choose your splurges. So you can still have your favorite foods, but maybe you're just not having the extra helpings of all of them. And this is interesting because there was a study done like years and years and years ago that showed, psychologically speaking, the first 3 bites of our food, whenever we're eating something that's delicious that we really wanted, those first 3 bites will satisfy the craving in the sense of like our neurotransmitters and how our brain responds to eating those, really delicious foods, whatever they are for you. So on this type of thing, like on this stream, is to be picky, right? We don't need to eat every single thing that's at the party. We can choose to spend our calories on the foods that we really like. And then weighing your options, this is a really good idea. So if you're at the buffet, wander around it once before you put anything on your plate. So now you know everything that's there and you can go through and say, okay, I love mashed potatoes, but I love the sweet potato casserole with the, brown sugar and everything else on it even more. So maybe you have that over the regular mashed potatoes and you kind of get to pick your options. And using those small portions. So, or for example, if you really don't want to choose between the sweet potato casserole and the mashed potatoes, you can do tiny spoonfuls of each where you have that, satisfy that 3-bite rule, right? So, okay, maybe I just put enough for 3 bites of this, 3 bites of that. That way I satisfy that craving, I satisfy that drive or that want or need to have that flavor or those foods without overdoing it. And last is produce first. You're going to hear me talk a lot about produce, but always start with your vegetables, right? So you have your food on your tray, on your plate, eat your vegetables first because those are going to contain the most fiber and they're going to be the lowest in calories usually, unless they're smothered in some like crazy heavy cheese sauce or something like that. But for the most part, eat your vegetables first, That way, when you start to fill up, you still have your foods that you really want to eat, but maybe you just take like a bite or two of them to satisfy, or three to satisfy that want for them without overdoing it. And you're not going to feel like you're so hungry because you are going to be full from the fiber in the fruits and the vegetables. Place the focus on people, not food. Because the last 2 years, we've been lacking a lot of genuine in-person human connection, right? So if you are fortunate enough to be able to spend the holidays in person with people that you love, really placing that focus on like connecting with everyone else rather than just being there to eat the good food will help to take that pressure off of eating. And for those of you that are trying to stick to certain diet regimens or whatever it is, or you're trying to watch how much you eat, this kind of is a way to distract yourself from all the food that's there. So first, you can avoid the food table. A lot of times, I know I do this all the time, I'll find myself at a gathering, and where am I? I am right next to the food table, absentmindedly, like eating the chips out of the bowl while I'm having a conversation with somebody else. So standing away from the food table will kind of prevent you from doing that. That way you're not just like mindlessly reaching for that food out of habit as you have, a conversation. And next is to strike up a conversation. If you find yourself kind of in the corner, not really talking to anyone, just eating food, stand yourself up, go find someone you haven't talked to in a while, learn about their life, introduce yourself to someone new, right? Try to learn something new about each person that is in the gathering or that you're present with. That way you have a task that's keeping you away from just mindlessly eating. And lastly is have some fun. So if you are with your family or friends, maybe initiating a board game or even like going outside. I don't know if we'll have any snow, but it's always fun if there is snow, starting like a snowball fight, or if you have kids in your family, even if you're older, being that like fun adult that goes out and does something fun with the kids to keep them entertained, right? But things like Pictionary, trivia, charades, all of these, even if you're not in person, can be played over Zoom, which is pretty cool. So, there's lots of options there to take the focus off of just eating and the food that's going to be there and really focusing on the company that you have around you. Next is to savor the seasonal treats. Moderation is key. Moderation is always key, right? So focus on your favorites. We kind of mentioned this before, but really like taking that lap around the table, seeing what is there, all the different foods that you have to offer, and picking the ones that you really want. If you do not like pumpkin pie or whatever it is, but you've just always had it because it's your tradition in your family or whatever, the case is, don't force yourself to eat foods just because they're like a once in a year type of food. Next is choose smaller portions. So if there's a ton of foods that you really like, try having small portions of each of them, right? You don't have to limit yourself. If you really, really absolutely want a bite of all of the desserts on the dessert table, fine, have a bite of them, right? Instead of having the whole thing for a bunch of different ones, that's just going to add up on calories. You're going to feel really full and you're probably not going to feel so good afterwards. Try just having small portions of each and then skip the rest, right? Just because it's a holiday tradition doesn't mean that you have to have it. For example, there's a couple of years I would always try to drink eggnog because I'm like, oh, it's a holiday tradition. Like everyone in my family drinks eggnog. I'll try it. And every year, I'm like, I do not like eggnog. So this year, I'm not trying the eggnog. I know I don't like it. There's no need to waste those calories on something that I don't like. Okay. Next is to choose your drinks wisely. So with a lot of holiday gatherings, we tend to drink more than usual, right? So just being mindful of what are you drinking and how many calories are in that drink. For example, limiting alcohol. Alcohol does contain a significant amount of calories, and unfortunately, we cannot use those calories for energy. They just get stored as fat. So limiting your alcohol intake if you can. Also, another unfortunate component of alcohol is that it also diminishes your ability to, stick to your diet, right? It lowers our inhibitions. So the next thing you know, a couple of drinks later, your diet goes out the window. So it's important, make sure that you stick to what you really want to, your goals, your health goals, and making sure that you have the means to do so. Alternating with water is a great idea. Doesn't mean that you have to, fill yourself up with fluids, but when you're drinking alcohol, it's always a good idea to hydrate. It helps to prevent the hangover as well. And if you're drinking a glass of water in between each of your drinks, you're probably going to drink less than you normally would. It also helps because a lot of times alcohol is very sugary. We're mixing it with a lot of sugary options. So helping you, like drinking that water, is going to help with your blood sugar regulation as well. And it's going to help quench your thirst. And then of course, pay attention to your mixers. So mixers can be very, very high in calories, especially when you're using things like soda or hot chocolate or the eggnog, whatever it is. So choosing something a little bit less in the calorie department or the sugar department, something like seltzer, is a really good option as a mixer. You can also add, fresh fruit. I like using like rosemary, cranberries, mint, all those things during the holiday seasons because they're just so like beautifully green and red. They're so festive. And you can also use splashes of juice, right? So if you're going to make a type of cocktail, a good idea is to use your alcohol, mix it with seltzer, and then you can add a splash of juice. That's going to be a little bit healthier than just using alcohol with soda or alcohol with some other high calorie option. Next, we have eat mindfully. So paying attention to what you're eating and also enjoying the process of eating. So mindful eating there's many ways to teach mindful eating, but it's really just the idea that as you eat, you are fully experiencing the meal that you're having. You're not just putting food in your mouth because it's dinner time and that's that. It's important to savor each bite, right? It's going to take a few minutes for your brain to register that your stomach is full. So putting down your fork in between bites and chewing your food thoroughly, I recommend at least 10 times. There are some people who practice mindful eating who will chew between 40 and 60 times for each bite. I find that's a little bit much, but at least 10 times, being a little bit more mindful of that and paying attention to the flavors, seeing, kind of going on that topic that we talked about before of like, if you don't really like it, why waste your calories on it? Really paying attention this holiday season to, oh, do I even like the foods that I normally eat during the holidays, right? Do I even like these? And seeing which ones are your favorite. Also choosing a small plate. There's been so much research that shows the size of our plates matters because we tend to fill them no matter what size they are. So using smaller plates, if you're at a buffet table or an option where you have like those little dessert plates versus the bigger plates, try sticking with the little dessert plate, even for your full meal. That way, if you're still hungry when you're done with your plate and you do go up for seconds, it's probably still going to be less food than if you were to have gotten the huge plate, filled it, and then went back for seconds with that, right? So making sure that you kind of pay attention to how much food you're fitting on your plate and the size of the plate that you chose. And then of course, check in with yourself. So again, like, are you enjoying this meal? And maybe you enjoy the food, but you're not getting any satisfaction after eating more than 3 bites. So kind of being aware of that as well. And if you are still getting that satisfaction, you still want to continue to eat that, you don't feel like you're overstuffed and you are thoroughly enjoying what you're eating, then of course, continue to eat it and don't feel shame for that, right? All right, so get moving. Of course, moving our bodies, being able to burn some calories is going to help us not only prevent some weight gain, but there's a lot of research that shows after you eat a very heavy meal in fat and carbohydrates, your blood gets a lot thicker with those components, the fat and stuff in there. So moving, standing up, getting your blood flowing helps to clear that a little bit better. So you're not getting that like sluggish, I just need to take a nap after I eat kind of kind of feeling. A good way to get moving is, of course, to dance, right? Dancing is so fun. So whether you're doing it at your holiday party, whether you're just dancing alone in your pajamas, in your bedroom, maybe just with your friends and family, it's always a good idea to put on some of your favorite holiday music and just have a little dance break. Avoiding the food coma, like I just said before, it is so tempting, especially when you eat a ton and you've been preparing for the holiday parties all day, you're exhausted, all you want to do is go lay down. But if you can avoid that and instead stand up and take a walk, it's much better for your health. And you can start a new tradition with your family, right? Getting up, taking a walk, doing something fun, whether it's sledding, maybe it's ice skating, but trying to encourage movement after the meal, or maybe even before if your family likes to eat really late or something like that. But trying to encourage that movement and engaging others in those healthy activities. I always say it's so important if we have younger kids in our families to be that role model, to show them, it is cool and it's really important to be mindful of your health. So, everyone, let's get up, let's dance a little bit, let's go for a little walk around the neighborhood, or even playing games with the kids, like who can run around the house the fastest, things like that. Saying no to food pushers politely. This is always a hard one. There's always people who either really want you to try their food or just have no regard for your health goals, or all of the hard work that you've been putting in. So the most important thing to do is to tell the truth, right? Just being very open about your health goals and telling pushy family members, I've been really trying to lose weight, or I've been eating this certain way for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, whatever it is, and I really just don't want to eat those foods. This is, my personal choice. Please respect that. You can also stall if someone is really just like, I don't care, I want you to try this. Just say, I'm so full right now, but I will definitely have some in a little bit. Even telling them, you can pack me a little to-go box and I'll bring it home. And if you get home and you don't want to eat it, you just throw it out. But at least they don't have to know, right? But trying to stall, push it off for a little bit later gives you some time. It's also a really good opt-out, because usually someone's going to forget, right? At the end of the night, they're not going to remember that they really, really, really wanted you to try the bite of the food that's already been put away or thrown out. And of course, be assertive. You have the right to control your health. I always remind my clients this, this is your health journey. So don't hesitate to remind people that you really are trying to stick to your health goals. And this is something that means a lot to you. And that's it. Please don't ask me anymore if I want to eat this food. I don't. I've made my decision. Thank you for respecting it. Having your boundaries is very important. And then lastly is to lose the guilt. So a few days of celebration does not cancel out months of hard work. Even if you've only been trying to stick to a healthy diet for the last 2 days, I don't care. It does not, a little bit of enjoying yourself, eating those holiday foods, having fun, maybe drinking more than you normally do, does not cancel out any of your health goals or any of the motivation that you have for bettering your health. So don't beat yourself up. If you do happen to eat more than you planned, or you're just feeling really guilty about the foods that you did eat, just give yourself that little bit of leeway to say, you know what, I enjoyed myself. Now it's time to get back on track, right? So don't give up. Don't let a slip become a fall. If you do go overboard one day or even a few days, just get back on track the next. And when you do get back on track, making sure that you're setting yourself up for success, right? So if you had a food diary that you were keeping before, or if you had certain routines or whatever it was that you were using to keep you on track, incorporate those back into your life, making sure that you get back on your schedule so that you're going to be able to have those lasting effects for a long time. So the do's and don'ts of holiday eating, just for a little bit of a recap, do say yes to your favorite holiday treats, right? It's not about limiting ourselves. We've been through, as humans the past 2 years have not been that easy. So allowing yourself to have a little bit of fun and just remembering to practice moderation and really choosing like healthy options as well, right? If you're eating brownies for every single meal for the next few days or throughout the whole holidays, obviously that's not going to be healthy. But if you're having your favorite holiday treats and in between you're having some carrots or a salad or whatever else, there's always balance, right? Do bring a healthy option. If you do have the option to bring food somewhere, choose something that you feel good about eating. It doesn't matter if other people don't like it. The amount of times that I've brought healthy things to parties and people are like, eh, and then one person tries it and is like, oh, this actually tastes pretty good. I'm like, yeah, of course it does. But don't be ashamed to bring something healthy, feel good about it. And if anyone, gives you a little bit of a hard time, just say, well, I really value my health. These are, this is a dish that coincides with my health goals, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys. Simple. Do some exercise, make a habit of moving your body, not just after you eat or after like those big holiday parties, but also just moving a little bit daily, right? Doing a little bit of yoga here and there, maybe going for walks more, getting on a bike, going to the gym, whatever it is, trying to set yourself up now before all the holiday parties start so that you have this routine of daily movement, whatever it is, even if it's just very simple of going up and down your stairs a few extra times in your house, something simple, but getting your body to move just a little bit more. And don't drink all of your calories, right? We talked about this with the alcohol, and even without alcohol in it, there's, the hot chocolates, the eggnogs that are not spiked, things like that. Those can be very, very high in calories. So just paying attention to what you are drinking, always opt for water as much as you possibly can, or a seltzer that's not flavored or not sugared. That way you can save some of your calories for the foods that you really want. Or if you really would like to save your calories for those drinks, then fine. You're saving your calories for your drinks, and then you're eating the healthy foods. And of course, don't skip meals. Always eat your regular meals, making sure you have your routine. Routine is going to be your best friend, especially trying to stick to things during the holidays, right? If you can stick to your routine for majority of the time, that's going to be the best for you. And then don't focus on the food, trying to focus on the companies that you're with, the friends, the family, doing fun things with people around you. And maybe you try to start a new tradition this year where instead of, having a holiday party where you're just eating the whole time, maybe you all meet and go for a walk, and then you guys go back to the house and do something. But trying to just really focus on spending quality time with the people that you're with, not just in the surroundings of food. Okay, so I do know we have some questions in the chat, so I will answer those. And if anyone else has questions, feel free to type it, or you can unmute yourself, but I will read them out loud. So the first question that we have is, do you have a link to the no-bake brownies with healthy ingredients? I have it somewhere. Let me see if I can, I might be able to post it in the chat. Just give me 1 second, because I believe that I have it, if I can find this. And I found it. Okay, well, that was easy. I just posted it for you guys. The ultimate unbaked brownies. These are delicious, I will say. They're pretty easy to make. Sometimes instead of putting them as a brownie, I'll just use the main ingredients and I form them into little like balls. So they're kind of like a date ball, but they're really good. They're very delicious. The next question, regarding alcohol, is red wine a better choice than white? Would a gin and tonic be a better choice than a glass of wine? Okay, so this is a question. I get these types of questions about alcohol so much. And for the most part, alcohol is alcohol, right? Like I said, we do not use it for energy. It just gets stored as fat. There's not like an alcohol that I'm going to say is super healthy for you and the right choice to pick. But red wine in terms of heart health is definitely better than white. Red tends to be a little bit lower in sugar depending on what kind of wine you're buying. And I would say, like, health speaking, I would choose red wine over white. Now, as for like liquor versus wine, a gin and tonic is probably going to be lower in calories. So it depends what you're going for. Whereas a glass of red wine is going to have more health components to it. But because gin has, you know, if you're getting a high quality gin, it does have those, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's made with like the juniper berry and like that kind of stuff, which there is some like health benefit to those, but not much. The alcohol kind of cancels out most health benefits for alcohol. Does that make sense? It's not the best answer. It's not the most exciting thing, but that's pretty much it. Yes. Trish, did you, if you don't see it, I can post it again. Let me see. Okay. I just posted it again. Does anyone else have any questions regarding any like of their personal questions regarding their holiday eating? Anyone sticking to any specific diets that they're worried about not being able to follow during the holidays? I can't see if anyone's raising their hands, but any tips for drinking more water? Yes. Okay. I'm with you there on the water. I don't drink enough water. I know that. It's not appealing to me. So I would say my biggest tip is making it taste not like water. Definitely helps. I use a lot of powders. So like even just the emergency vitamin C packets that have like a ton of different vitamins in them. I'll add that to water just to get me to drink a little bit more. That tends to help. I like to use ones that have nutritional benefit rather than like the flavored water drops, because those just tend to be filled with dyes and not so healthy options. But that's, you know, my go-to is usually spicing up my water a little bit, or I drink a lot of seltzer. So seltzer is another good option. Plain seltzer is probably going to be the best, and then you've got like the flavored ones that don't have any sugar in them. Those are okay as well. If you have a soda stream, you can, you know, make your own seltzer, which is always the best. But between spicing up water and then just drinking seltzer, those are my two usual go-tos that help keep you hydrated and are a little bit better than just drinking straight water if you're not a water drinker.
If we have no more questions, I just want to thank Dana for being with us today. I did also mention to somebody in the chat that I'll try to email out that recipe that you posted as well, just in case you're having trouble accessing it in the chat. But otherwise, thank you so much.